BYU watches a 14-point second-half lead diminish in one of the toughest places to play in the Big 12. They fall short at number 6 Iowa State, 68-63. So many levels to this game. Ultra high highs, really frustrating lows when the game finished for BYU. So, Jarom, how are you feeling about last night's loss to Iowa State now that you've had a little bit of time to digest it?
Nice, based on the Big 12 food. It's two thoughts here. One is, hey, listen, BYU wasn't supposed to win this game anyway. They competed really well. Bummer to lose it, blah, blah. The second is, oh, shoot, BYU was up 14.
What could have been?
The win for the taking. Could have got up to the 4 seed in Lunardi possibly with a huge win. This would have been the biggest win of the season. Iowa State, like Gonzaga in 2017's home record would have been spoiled. BYU spoiled Kansas's home record last week, the undefeated. It's tough. Okay, so BYU played a tremendous defensive game, Spencer. Let me give you a number. 0.958 points per possession allowed is tied for third best in Big 12 play. It's the same number BYU gave up at Kansas. So why didn't BYU win? Because they didn't execute down the stretch. Didn't score the last 24, had 3 consecutive turnovers in under a minute and a half, and then unfortunately Dallin Hall's 3 doesn't hit rim there.
Yeah.
Tough situation for Dallin. He's a good player. All the Dallin Hall haters came out last night.
Good grief.
I don't agree with that level of hate. Dallin's a really good player. Now, twice now, Utah and Iowa State, he's had a tough situation there at the end, turning it over in a critical moment. He's had great other moments too. Several. Highlighted by Kansas, among many others. So let's not act like the only thing Dallin has done is turned it over at the end of the game. That's not true. He's awesome. But this was one that got away. Because BYU's up 14 in the second half. Richie Saunders, amazing game, 20 points.
Incredible first half.
And given that he's enemy number 1 with Iowa State, given the interaction in Provo where he just, a guy got frustrated and hit him, there was a chance to win this game. And if BYU had won this game, they could have been the 4 and had a double bye potentially if they beat Oklahoma State and things shake out right. So that was tough to swallow. But I'm not overly discouraged because I think a shot was fired.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. We shouldn't be.
Not only at Kansas, but in this game where it was like, okay, we didn't win, but we're here.
Everybody knows that BYU is dangerous, even after last night's game.
And BYU stunk from 3 in the second half, 2 of 15. What if BYU's 4 of 15, Spencer? They could win the game.
Jarom, that is where my biggest issue lies. Everybody wants to point because of how the game finished, and it's the last thing in your mind, and you're just frustrated because BYU went 3 empty possessions late in the game. It's like, oh my gosh,
that was rough.
It stings super bad for sure. The clear biggest issue to me of why BYU lost this game was they were unable to hit open shots in the second half. They had several great looks from the three-point line in the second half that did not go down. How many times do we have to tell you? 10 threes and 32% or better from 3 is essentially a guarantee for BYU to win the game. It's not 100%, but it's pretty stinking close.
It's close.
They're 20-2 when they make at least 10 threes, and it's 32% shooting from the three-point line or better. BYU had made 6.
10 plus is 20-2 as well?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I believe so.
It's the same one?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll look, baby, because I'm interested.
Wrong, okay?
16-3.
Okay.
That's still good.
16-3.
With 10 plus.
But it's 32% that's 20-2.
Yes.
Okay.
Pick your metric.
Either way, those are winning numbers for BYU. BYU had made 6 threes at halftime. It was awesome, right? I didn't expect BYU to make 6 or 7 in the second. I was like, oh, they'll cool down a little bit. But I did expect them to make at least 4 and
more than
hit
2.
10.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I did expect them to be above 32% when, all was said and done.
Second half, obviously, stinks.
That did not happen.
25 points. Iowa State's an amazing defense. We talked about it.
They speed you up. That's what they do.
And BYU played into that to where the help comes and you find the open shooter. And
you got to make those shots.
You got to make those shots. 20-2, 0-8 when under 32%. BYU has yet to win a game when not shooting at least 32%. So my concern there is, Spence, if that's not going, what can you do to win a game? Because right now BYU has not. They got to the free throw line, 11 of 16. 12 of 18 for Iowa State. There's a couple front ends there that are missed that are disappointing, certainly. So maybe you get to the line a couple more times, maybe 20 times instead of 16, and that helps you. BYU was plus 10 in boards. That's typically a pretty good number for BYU as well. There was one possession that kind of typified this game where I think it was like a Jackson missed 3, and then maybe a Richie missed 3, and then it was like a Trevin Nell made 3 or something.
Finally made it.
Like that third one, I can't remember who was involved exactly, but BYU is still playing above expectation. It's disappointing not to win given you're up 14 in the second half. BYU now has the 17-point loss at Texas Tech and this one that kind of hurt. Those 2 games, if you can finish those games, we're talking about 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah.
But you can't just win every game you're up big, because then you could argue, well, then you're supposed to lose the game where you're done 17 against TCU or 12 against Kansas.
No, momentum
Sports
and
happen.
flow are a real thing.
Life happens. So you can't win every one of those or just lose the ones where you're up big. But certainly those 2 games stick out because this BYU team is really good, man. They sent a message whether they won or lost in the way they
100%.
played. And it's annoying, at the end that BYU doesn't finish it off. But hey, I'm feeling good going into Oklahoma State and then into the Big 12 tournament. BYU can be dangerous. And BYU did it where they shot 28% from 3. BYU almost won this game not shooting well.
Jarom, they make one more 3.
Hey,
if they make one more 3, one more, then maybe they win. 2
right?
for sure.
Right?
We're talking about one more make.
That would have been 31%. Would have been under the number. It would have been the first win sub 32.
You needed 2 more, and
You could have tied the game late.
I'll
right?
take my chances every time with this team too. Like I like the majority of those shots. Some of them were rushed in the second half for sure, but that's what Iowa State does. They speed you up. Most of the shots in the second half were pretty good looks, and with this team, I'll take it. They just didn't drop. And that's unfortunate, but that's how the game goes sometimes. And head coach Mark Pope spoke about the 3-point shooting, specifically in the second half, last night.
I like the looks we got a lot. So I liked it. I like the looks we got. I like that our goal is 14 offensive rebounds a game, and we got them. It's just the nature of shooting the ball a little bit. I actually didn't think it's not the makes and misses. We'll live with 8 for 29. I'd like to be over 30 is really important for us. But with the 14 offensive rebounds, that's really good numbers for us. It's the 17. It's the 17 turnovers that got us. And down the stretch, it was the turnovers. We come down, 3 out of 5 possessions and just turn the ball over in the last, 2 minutes of the game.
Iowa State's second in the country in turnover percentage defensively.
17 turnovers.
But a few of those felt self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Foos's travel late, self-inflicted.
Certainly.
Lipsy kind of reaches in on Hall. Ball goes off of Dallin's foot. It goes out of bounds. That's tough. Fran Fraschilla epitomized kind of what we've been talking about here in the segment, by the way. Many were excited about Houston coming into the Big 12 Conference. This is after the loss, by the way. But BYU men's basketball is icing on the cake. Fran gets it, that despite the loss, shot fired, whatever level of moral victory you want to associate with this, great. We always think it's negative. But the point is that teams understand that BYU is a real threat. Like, can BYU make a run in the tournament next week? We'll see, man. They only really need one win. We'll ask Sean Farnham coming up, is one win the minimum threshold for BYU in the Big 12 tournament? Certainly you've got to beat Oklahoma State on Saturday to secure what we think could be the 5 seed. If they lose, now we're talking about something a little weirder, which we'll get to more tomorrow, what the possibilities are there. But I'm not overly discouraged. Like the encouraged, discouraged thing, I'm a little encouraged, obviously disappointed that BYU didn't win the game.
Being frustrated,
but all good. I'm okay.
Is different than being discouraged, right?
Yeah.
BYU is dangerous in every single potential matchup they could have, starting with Oklahoma State on Saturday night and whatever they face in Kansas City.
Yes.
Nobody wants to play BYU.
Yes.
Nobody wants to play BYU.
Who wants to play a team that shares the ball, that defends well, and that shoots a 3 like BYU? BYU is the classic March Madness Cinderella kind of team.
They are.
Except they're in the Big 12, so they ain't no Cinderella. They're already at the ball.
They know. They got the invitation. It's on the way in the mail. And
in the tourney, they're sort of hosting the party, especially if it's in Salt Lake.
Listen, I know most BYU fans are upset because it feels like, in their opinion, that BYU gave it away more than Iowa State earned it, especially late in the game. That is always difficult to handle. When you feel like, we gave it away.
On the road with that crowd, I would argue Iowa State did a lot of good, right?
100%.
Like, they're at home. They're the number 6 team.
But the fan last night, at least what I gathered was BYU gave the game, but they choked it away. It's like, Iowa State does things to make you speed up and turn the ball over. It's how they're
Did
built.
BYU earn the TCU comeback, or did TCU give it up? Like, BYU was at home. You know what I mean?
Home court matters in this conference maybe more than in any other conference in America.
I think it's like
the percentages.
Crazy.
I think like they show that is the case in the Big 12. So that's tough.
Yeah.
The second thing with Dallin Hall, he is still that dude. He is that dude. Have you seen BYU's offense in large part when Dallin Hall's not on the floor? It does not work.
The no Dawson Baker thing's a big deal in that situation.
Dallin Hall makes the offense go. You talk to Mark Pope, he will tell you, like, he is the key cog in making the offense go. Like, he has the ball in his hands so much so that, he's going to have some critical turnovers in critical times, but he's also going to make some unbelievable plays, which he has done more than the unfortunate circumstance last night. He's still that dude, and he's only a sophomore.
And that's part of the deal. When you're younger, things happen. He's going to grow from that. We're going to look back in the next 2 years and be like, dude, remember the Dallin Hall that made the Kansas shot and made this and the Iowa State Utah. He's learned from that and become like a second-team all-conference guy in this league. Are you kidding me?
He's a special player. Okay, special player, still relatively young in his career. Our question of the day: how are you feeling about BYU's loss to Iowa State? At Rye_O_1 on X says, sad that BYU didn't pull it off. There was hope.
Yep.
But we, as fans, should be optimistic that BYU had a lead and only lost by 5 in one of the toughest environments in the country to number 6. It was loud in there last night. BYU was not, I didn't feel significantly impacted by the crowd, per se, as much as they were about just the Iowa State defense and the pressure late.
It's hard to be like, we turned it over because the crowd was loud. Like, that's not going to be a conversation.
Jake Nielsen on X. BYU played at Allen Fieldhouse and won. BYU played at Hilton and couldn't hold on, barely. I doubt BYU sees an environment like those at any stage of the NCAA tournament.
They will not.
Other than maybe the Final Four.
No. You're in a massive gym and no.
I'm encouraged by this team, says Jake, but the last 3 minutes of that game were painful to watch.
Yes, they were.
The last 5, BYU didn't score in almost the last 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. But look, BYU does not play another true run game again. Yeah. They play home Oklahoma State in Kansas City neutral. Granted, there will be some good crowds from some of the Midwest schools for sure. Iowa State, Kansas stick out, right? Will the Houston crowd show up? We'll see who BYU plays exactly. Like, will the Texas Tech homies show up more than the BYU homies? I'm interested to see what BYU fans do in Kansas City, by the way. Challenge given. Let them know pioneer settlement theory, right, that I've talked about. Like, you show up, annoy the locals.
Yes.
Because, where'd all these people come from? They came from all over the country because that's what BYU does.